I shot my brother in the knee with his own hunting rifle, right there in the family cabin, and watched him crumple like the spineless fraud he always was. The blood pooled slow and black on the pine floorboards, but it wasn't rage that steadied my hand. It was the cold math of 20 years' worth of stolen life. And as he begged for mercy, screaming that I was the real monster, I whispered the truth he'd buried deeper than our father's grave. You built your empire on my bones, Ethan. Now pay the toll. My name's Natalie, and if you grew up in the Rust Belt shadow of Gary, Indiana, like I did, you know how dreams get ground down finer than the steel mill slag that choked our skies. It's the kind of place where ambition feels like a punchline. Folks clock in at the auto plant, punch out at the dive bar, and pretend the ache in their backs is just another Tuesday. I was the oldest, the one who should have been the golden child, but life has a way of flipping the script on you. Ethan, my little brother by 3 years, was the charmer. The one with the easy grin and the silver tongue that could talk his way out of a locked jail cell.
Me?
I was the fixer. The one who mopped up his messes before Ma even noticed the spill. It started small, the way these things do. We were kids, maybe 12 and 9, scrapping over Dad's old toolbox in the garage that smelled like motor oil and regret. Ethan wanted to borrow Dad's socket wrench to impress some neighborhood punks by fixing a bike he didn't even own. I said no. Dad had warned us about losing tools after the last time. But Ethan, oh, he had that look. The one that said, Natalie, you're my big sis. You got my back, right? So I let him take it. Next day, it's gone. Stolen, or so he claimed. Dad came home from the double shift at the mill, face like thunder, and lit into me. You lost it? Again? I took the belt that night, 10 lashes across my palms, while Ethan hid under his bed, biting his lip to keep quiet. I never ratted. That's what sisters do, right? Protect the fragile ones. By high school, the pattern was set in concrete. Ethan was the quarterback, the kid with the fade haircut and the Letterman jacket that made girls giggle in the hallways. I was the grindstone. AP classes, part-time at the diner slinging hash browns to truckers who tipped in loose change. He got busted once for boosting beer from the corner store, underage and cocky. Cops called Ma, but I was the one who drove him down to the station in her beat-up Chevy, flashing my straight-A smile at the desk sergeant. He's a good kid, officer. Just a dumb mistake. They let him off with a warning. I forged the community service slip. 8 hours at the animal shelter, which I did for him, scooping cat shit while he sweet-talked his way into homecoming court. College was the real gut punch. I scraped together FAFSA loans and waitress doubles to get my engineering degree from Purdue.
Ethan?
He flunked out of community college after 1 semester, blaming bad vibes. But he had a plan, see. A big idea about flipping houses in the post-recession boom. Needed seed money. Ma's savings, our inheritance from Dad's life insurance after the mill accident took him when I was 16, were the only pot around. I signed it over. You're the smart one, Nat, he said, clapping me on the back like we were equals. This'll make us all rich. I believed him, because that's what family does. Lies taste like gospel when they're wrapped in blood ties. Fast forward 5 years. I'm 28, living in a 1-bedroom walk-up in Chicago, punching the clock as a junior C80 designer for a mid-tier construction firm. The pay's steady, $48,000 a year, benefits that cover the basics, but it's soul-sucking. Endless revisions on blueprints for strip malls that look like every other beige box in the Midwest. My hands ache from the mouse, my eyes burn from the screen, and every night I collapse into bed wondering if this is it. The American dream, reduced to overtime spreadsheets and microwave dinners. Ethan, meanwhile, is living large in a loft downtown, the kind with exposed brick and a view of the loop that screams, I made it. His real estate empire, ENN Developments, cheekily named after us, the traitorous bastard, flips distressed properties into boutique condos for tech bros fleeing Silicon Valley. He's got the Tesla, the tailored suits from Nordstrom Rack marked up to look bespoke, and a fiancée named Brooke who's all Pilates and Pinterest boards. They post their life on Instagram, sunset yacht parties on Lake Michigan, brunches at Girl, and the Goat where the avocado toast costs more than my grocery bill.
And me?
I'm the punchline in his stories. It started with a family barbecue last summer, Ma's 60th at the old house in Gary. The backyard was the same as always, rusted swing set, chain link fence rattling in the wind off Lake Michigan. Ethan rolls up late in his Audi, Brooke on his arm like a trophy. Ma hugs him first, cooing over how handsome and successful he looks. I hand him a beer from the cooler, and he claps me on the shoulder. Nat, still slaving away at that desk job? Man, you're like the dumb worker bee in the hive. Buzz, buzz. Brooke laughs, a tinkling sound like breaking glass. Ma chuckles nervously, but I see the flicker in her eyes, the one that says she knows it's cruel, but won't call it out. The table goes quiet for a beat, forks scraping plates of potato salad. I force a smile, the kind that's all teeth and no warmth. Yeah, Ethan. Someone's gotta keep the lights on while you play Monopoly with other people's money. He roars with laughter, like I meant it as a joke. But inside, it burned. That night, scrolling through his feed, Hustle Hard Family First, I saw the post, a throwback of us as kids, him in his Little League uniform, me covered in mud from fixing his busted bike chain. Caption: shout out to my big sis, the original handywoman. Without her fixing my messes, where would I be? Sis goals blue collar roots. The comments flooded in. Sibling love. She's so relatable. Relatable. Like I'm the folksy sidekick in his origin story, the plucky underdog who makes his rags to riches shine brighter. I blocked him that night. Unfollowed. Muted the family group chat. But the rot was deeper than social media shade. It festered, turning every late-night shift into a reminder of what I'd given up. I deferred my own dreams, starting a sustainable design firm, the kind that builds eco-homes for folks like our old neighbors, not McMansions for crypto douchebags. Instead, I was drafting permits for Ethan's latest flip, a gutted factory in Pilsen turned into luxury lofts that'd price out the Latino families who'd called it home for generations. Ironic, right? My blueprints, my sweat, funding his gentrification wet dream. Then came the whispers. Co-workers at the firm, guys who'd gone to school with Ethan, started side-eyeing me. Heard your brother's killing it. How's it feel, drawing for the competition? Turns out ENN had poached our lead architect, poaching talent like it was a sport. And the worst? The Gary project. Ma's house, our house, was on the chopping block. City zoning changes, they said. But I knew better. Ethan's firm was spearheading the revitalization, buying up blocks for pennies and flipping them to developers. Ma got a letter. Eminent domain bullshit, lowball offer that wouldn't cover a trailer in the burbs. I confronted him over coffee at a Starbucks near his office, the kind with baristas who call you by name and charge $5 for a latte. He sipped his venti, legs crossed like he owned the joint. Nat, it's business. Ma's place is a teardown anyway. I'll hook her up with something nice in the suburbs. You know, where the schools are better. Better for who? She didn't have kids. And that house, peeling paint and all, was the last piece of dad we had left. You're evicting her, Ethan. Our mother. He shrugged, that infuriating half-smile. Progress, sis. I can't stop the train. Besides, you're the dumb worker. Stick to your CAD files. Leave the big moves to me. I walked out shaking, the steam from his cup mocking me like cigarette smoke from a bad breakup. That night, I cracked a bottle of cheap Merlot and scrolled through old emails. That's when I found it, the chain from 7 years back, when I was fresh out of Purdue, buried in a folder labeled Family Loans. Ethan's business plan for ENN, attached spreadsheets, projections that screamed fraud, offshore accounts, shell companies to launder investor cash. And my signature. Forged? No. I'd signed as guarantor. Blind faith in my baby brother. But there was more. A police report, scanned and forwarded by him with a note. Handle this, Nat. For us. The report was from Indianapolis, 2017. Ethan, drunk and high on something stupid, wrapped his borrowed truck around a pole on I-65. No fatalities, thank God, but the passenger, a college buddy, was DOA on scene, head through the windshield. Ethan walked away with scratches. The cops pegged it on the buddy's reckless driving, but the talk screen? Ethan's blood alcohol was double the limit. He'd called me from the ear, sobbing. Nat, they'll ruin me. Ma can't know. So I drove down, lawyered up with Ma's emergency fund, and cut a deal. I took the fall, perjured myself in the deposition, said I'd been the one behind the wheel, tired from a long shift. Misdemeanor vehicular, community service, license suspended. My record stained, my insurance jacked, all while Ethan slithered back to Gary and started his empire with clean hands. He'd buried me, and built his life on the lie. The wine soured in my gut. I wasn't the dumb worker. I was the scapegoat, the human shield for his golden parachute. And now, with Ma's house on the line, it was time to dig up the bones. Chicago winters hit like a freight train, wind off the lake that slices through your coat, turning the streets into a gauntlet of gray slush and huddled commuters. I spent the next month holed up in my apartment, the radiator clanging like a bad omen, piecing together the puzzle of Ethan's house of cards. It wasn't revenge yet, it was reconnaissance. I called in favors from old Purdue classmates now at the SEC's Chicago office, casual drinks turning into hypotheticals about real estate fraud. Off the record, Nat, one said, nursing a IPA at the map room, your brother's filings? They're a magician's trick. Smoke and mirrors, but the rabbits are laundering cash from God knows where. I hacked together what I could, nothing illegal, just public records and LinkedIn deep dives. ENN's investor list read like a who's who of Midwest grifters, shady LLCs out of Delaware, a venture capitalist with ties to opioid pushers in Appalachia. And Brooke? She wasn't just arm candy. She was the fixer now, a former paralegal who'd retired after clerking for a judge Ethan wined and dined. Their wedding was set for spring, Vegas. Elvis officiant, the works. Invite came via text. Sis, you in? Bring your tool belt for the afterparty. Faced with tears of joy, I deleted it without replying. Ma called mid-January, voice thin as the ice on Lake Michigan. Natalie, honey, the lawyers say it's a done deal. Your brother's trying to help, but I don't want to leave. I drove out that weekend. The Dan Ryan Expressway, a snarl of salt trucks and brake lights. The house looked smaller, shabbier, siding warped from years of neglect, the maple in the front yard bare and skeletal. Ma met me at the door, apron dusted with flour from her famous pierogi dough. We sat at the Formica table, sipping Lipton tea from mugs with Dad's mill logo faded on the side. He means well. Nat, Ethan's always been the dreamer. Her eyes, the same hazel as mine, pleaded for absolution. I wanted to spill it all. The crash, the forgery, the way he'd mocked me like I was yesterday's news. But I swallowed it. Ma, what if there's another way? What if I fight this? She patted my hand, calluses rough from decades of factory line. You're a good girl. But don't rock the boat for me. I've had my time. I left with a Tupperware of leftovers and a knot in my chest tighter than the turnpike tolls. Back in the city, I escalated. Enrolled in an online cert for forensic accounting, nights blurred into code and spreadsheets, caffeine my only co-pilot. By February, I had a dossier. Emails subpoena-worthy, bank transfers that looped like a Mobius strip. But proof wasn't enough. Revenge needed teeth. I needed leverage. Enter the stranger. Or rather, the ghost. It started with a manila envelope, no return address, shoved under my door one blizzard night. Postmark: Indianapolis. Inside, a USB drive and a typed note on plain stock. You took the fall once. Don't let him bury you twice. The truth sets you free, or him on fire. Your call. A friend of the family. No signature, just a faint coffee ring stain like a halo around the words. The drive was a goldmine. Dashcam footage from the crash, blurry but damning, showing Ethan's hands on the wheel, the buddies slumped in the passenger seat, bottle rolling under the dash. Audio logs from the ER call, Ethan's voice slurring, I can't go down for this. Nat's gonna fix it. And the kicker, a notarized affidavit from the buddy's sister, dated last week. She'd been in hiding, piecing together her own grief-fueled investigation. Your brother killed my brother. And you covered for him. But I forgive you. Make him pay. I sat on my futon till dawn, the city humming outside like a distant accusation. Forgiveness? From a stranger who'd lost everything? It twisted something in me, made the rage feel righteous instead of rotten. By morning, I'd made calls. A PI in Indy, ex-cop with a grudge against white-collar weasels. Cost me half my savings, but he delivered. Ethan's current dirt. Not just the old crash, fresh skeletons. ENN was cooking books on the Pilsen Project, inflating appraisals to squeeze more from city grants. And Brooke? She was the signatory on falsified liens, her paralegal chops now forging docs that'd make Madoff blush. I toyed with going public. Leak to the Tribune, watch his empire crumble in pixelated headlines. But that was too clean. Too detached. No, this needed to be personal. Up close, where I could see the flip in his eyes, the moment charm curdled to fear. I booked the cabin. Our family's old hunting shack up in the Michigan side, a 3-hour haul north across the state line. Dad's ritual. Boys' weekends that became sibling escapes after he passed. Last time I'd been there, Ethan and I were 20-somethings, splitting a six-pack and bullshitting about the future. He'd promised then, Nat, we're in this together. Partners. Lies, all of it. I texted him. Cabin weekend?
Mais idea.
Clear your head before the wedding. He bit, of course.
Ego bait. Sounds good, sis.
Brooks got a shower thing, anyway. Bring beer? I packed light. Cooler, sleeping bags, and his old Remington .308, borrowed from the safe last Christmas. The drive up was a meditation in frost. Interstate 94 giving way to two lanes flanked by pine thickets heavy with snow. Radio crackled with classic rock, Springsteen's Born to Run, hitting like a prophecy. Tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. He arrived at dusk, Tesla crunching gravel, headlights cutting the gloam like judgment. Stepped out in North Face gear that cost more than my rent, clapping mittened hands.
Ned.
The prodigal dumb worker returns. His laugh echoed off the cabin's cedar logs. I forced the grin, handed him a bud from the cooler. Figured you'd need it after dodging Ma's calls about the house. Inside, the place was a time capsule. Stone fireplace, deer mounts on the walls, air thick with pine soul and regret. We built a fire, me stacking logs, him scrolling his phone. Brooks posting updates. You should follow again, Nat. It's inspirational. I nodded, poking the flames till embers spat like accusations. Dinner was venison jerky and beans from cans, washed down with whiskey from Dad's dusty bottle. Conversation skirted the edges, his latest flip, my steady gig. Then he leaned in, eyes gleaming orange in the firelight. Seriously though, when you gonna level up? You're wasting that brain on grunt work. The old burn flared. I set my tin cup down, deliberate. Like you leveled up? On what? Forged cigs and buried crashes. His face froze, fork midway to mouth. What the hell, Nat? You been snooping? I pulled the envelope from my pack, slapped it on the table. The USB glinted like a grenade pin. Or maybe it's the stranger who knows more about your success than I ever did. He lunged for it, but I was faster. Years of diner shifts hauling trays honed reflexes. Pinned his wrist with my knee, the fire crackling like applause.
Seat.
Or I email this to every investor on your list. Starting with the DA. His eyes, same as Dad's, wide and pleading, darted.
Calculating.
Then the flip. Charm offensive.
Net. Listen.
It was one mistake. We were kids. You said you'd always have my back. Kids? I'm still paying for it, Ethan. The record, the loans, Ma's goddamn home. He deflated, shoulders slumping. Okay, I'll call off the Gary deal. Hell, I'll cut you in, 20% silent partner. We're family. The offer hung, sweet as poison pie. Part of me, the fixer, the sister, wavered. 20% of his empire? Stability for Ma, a way out of my cubicle cage. But the other part, the one forged in belt lashes and perjured oaths, saw the trap. Another debt. Another cover. I released him, stood, fetched the rifle from the corner. Oil slick barrel. Bolt action smooth as betrayal. Family, I echoed, chambering around with a click that silenced the wind outside. That's what you said before you let me take the wheel. The cabin's walls seemed to lean in as the fire died to coals, shadows stretching like fingers across the knotty pine. Ethan backed up to the stone hearth, palms out, that quarterback poise cracking at the edges. Nat, put it down. This ain't you. You're the good one. The one who fixes shit. His voice pitched higher, boyish, the same whine he'd used to dodge chores. I leveled the Remington, stock firm against my shoulder. Dad had taught me this stance young, for protection, not pride. Irony that. Sit, I said again, nodding to the threadbare couch. He did, knees bouncing like he was waiting for a job interview from hell. I perched on the arm, rifle across my lap, the envelope between us like a loaded deck. Tell me everything. From the beginning.
Noise bean.
He swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing. The story spilled out in fits. The crash first, how the buddy, Tyler, had egged him on with the Coke, the bottle. It was mutual, Nat. He grabbed the wheel laughing, then bam. Lies layered on lies, but the USB didn't care about excuses. Next, the real estate hustle, starting with Ma's money, sure, but scaling with creative accounting. Brooke came in year 2, her law connections greasing palms at City Hall. She's ambitious, you know? Like us.
Us.
As if she hadn't laughed at my expense over mimosas. And the Pilsen families? I pressed, thumb tracing the trigger guard. Evicting grandmas for your lofts. He shifted, eyes flicking to the door, 10 feet, locked, snowdrifts piled high outside.
No escape.
Collateral. Nat revitalization creates jobs. My jobs, your firm bids on half the contracts. A flip again, justification to plea. Think about Ma. If I go down, she loses everything. The house stays, but the checks stop.
Ma.
The eternal shield. I thought of her pierogi hands, the way she'd hum Sinatra while folding laundry, pretending the world wasn't grinding her down. Ethan's empire kept her in that house longer than my salary ever could. Groceries delivered, the roof patched last fall without her asking. Was I the villain here, rifle in hand, unraveling the fragile web? The room spun a little, whiskey fumes mixing with pine smoke, and for a heartbeat, I lowered the barrel. Prove it.
Call your lawyer now.
Pull the Gary offer. He fumbled for his phone, fingers trembling as he dialed. Speaker on, tinny voice from a partner. Ethan? Midnight call, this better be good. He babbled assurances. Yeah, kill the eminent domain on the old family place. Full market value comp.
Click. Done.
His eyes met mine, triumphant.
See? Fixed.
Now the gun. I snatched the phone, scrolled his contacts. Brooke's name glowed.
Tell her.
About the crash. The cover-up. Or I do. His face drained, pale as the moon filtering through frost-laced windows.
Not, no.
She's clean. This would tank her too, bar association sniffing around those leans. Another flip. Anger now, standing slow, fists clenched. You think you're some avenging angel? You're jealous, that's all. Plain old green-eyed sis, stuck in neutral while I floored it. Jealous. The word landed like a slap, echoing the barbecue taunts, the Instagram jabs. But it was more, a lifetime of his messes on my ledger, my dreams deferred for his detours. I raised the rifle again, heart hammering steady. One call, Ethan. Truth, or the envelope goes viral. He paced, a caged wolf, muttering curses. Then stopped, face twisting into something sly.
Fine.
But you gotta hear my side first. Full story. He sank back, voice dropping conspiratorial. After the crash, yeah, I leaned on you. But Purdue? You chose that grind. I offered you in on Ian in day one, co-founder, equal split. You said no. Too risky, remember? Stuck with your safe job, drawing lines for chumps. Bullshit. I'd begged for a role, admin, even intern, but he'd waved it off. Need pros, Nat. Not family. Now it was my fault? The flips kept coming, each one a knife twist. He dialed Brooke, voice syrupy. Babe, emergency chat. On speaker. Her yawn crackled through. Ethan? It's ass o'clock. He spilled it, the crash, my perjury, the fear in his laugh like broken glass. Silence stretched, then her voice, steel-edged. You idiot. And Natalie knew.
Click.
Line dead. Ethan's shoulders hitched, a sob or a chuckle. I couldn't tell.
There.
Happy? Now we're all fucked. But his eyes? Calculating still, darting to the rifle. In a blur, he lunged, not for the door but me. Hand clamping my wrist, twisting for the gun. We grappled, a tangle of limbs on the rug, his breath hot and beery. Give it, he snarled, nails digging crescents into my skin. I need his gut. Years of self-defense classes from the Y paying off, but he was stronger, fueled by desperation. The shot went wild, boom echoing like thunder in a tin can, splintering the mantel, dust sifting down. He froze, then backhanded me, lips splitting on my tooth. Blood trickled, coppery and warm. You crazy bitch. Rage boiled over, and I fired again, deliberate this time. The round caught his knee, fabric shredding, bone crunching like gravel under tires. He howled, collapsing, clutching the ruin. Natalie, call 911. You're killing me. I stood, rifle smoking, chest heaving. The cabin reeked of cordite and copper. Outside, the storm howled, burying us deeper. No signal up here, not till morning. Not yet, I said, voice mine but not, distant as a radio signal. You die slow, brother. Thinking about Tyler. About Ma's house. About every dumb worker joke. He crawled, smearing red, babbling bargains. I'll give it all, the company, the loft. Marry you off to Brooke's trust fund cousin. Flips till the end. From plea to curse. Dad would hate you for this. His little helper turned monster.
Dad.
The ghost in the room, his belt scars on my palms itching anew. Would he? Or would he see the mill worker's daughter, ground down one too many times? I bandaged him rough, torn sheet from the linen closet, tourniquet tight enough to staunch, but not spare the pain. Whiskey for shock, his whimpers the soundtrack to my vigil by the fire. Dawn crept in gray, snow easing to flurries. I dragged him to the truck, mine, chains on the tires, propped in the passenger's seat like a broken doll. The drive down was hell. Black ice on switchbacks, his moans sinking with the engine's growl. Why, Nat? We could have been kings. Because you made me the fool, I whispered, eyes on the road. Now, watch your kingdom burn. Back in Chicago, I dumped him at a ER drive-through anonymous, envelope tucked in his jacket with a note. Tell them the truth. Or I will. Drove home, showered off the night, blood swirling pink down the drain. The news hit by noon. Real estate mogul shot in hunting accident. Self-inflicted? Police spun it vague. Ethan clamming up from his hospital bed. Brooke? Vanished, her Insta gone dark. Whispers of SEC probes circling like vultures. Ma called that evening, voice quavering. Natalie? Ethan's hurt bad. Says it was an accident. But the house, it's off the table. He promised. Relief? Guilt? It tangled, a knot I couldn't untie. I hung up, poured the last of the Merlot, and waited for the other shoe. Spring thawed Chicago slow, the lake ice cracking like old grudges, buds pushing through concrete planters in Grant Park. Ethan's accident made the Trib's business section, speculation on rivals, a troubled tycoon angle that painted him sympathetic. ENN teetered, investors pulling out like rats from a flood, but he lawyered up fierce, countersuing the PI for defamation. Brooke surfaced in Miami, filing for annulment via Zoom, her story to page 6, blindsided by his secrets. Natalie? We were never close. Never close. As if her giggles at my expense were polite chit-chat. I kept my head down at work, revisions piling up, but the buzz was electric, co-workers whispering, your bro's toast, not poetic. Poetic? Try purgatory. Nightmares woke me sweating. The shots recoil, Ethan's eyes flipping from brother to beast. I checked the news obsessively, half hoping for his fall, half dreading the void it'd leave. Ma visited once, trained from Gary, bearing lemon bars and questions she wouldn't voice. He's healing. Physical therapy, the works. Says, you're not speaking. I nodded, brewing tea strong as tar. Ma, did you know? About the crash? Her face crumpled, flour-dusted hands twisting. Suspected. But family. We protect our own.
Protect.
The word soured, but I hugged her tight, the scent of home, Irish spring and regret, lingering after she left. The twist came in May, envelope number 2. Same manila, same coffee stain, delivered to my office this time.
Inside, a check.
6 figures, drawn on a trust in Tyler's name. Note attached, for the years you carried his weight. Use it well. Still a friend. No traces, unlaunderable clean. And a flash drive, not damning but liberating. Cleared records. My misdemeanor expunged. Quiet petition to the Indiana courts, signed by a judge with Brooks' old firm ties. Freedom, wrapped in irony. I cashed it partial, enough for a down payment on a South Side lot, vacant since a fire, ripe for rebuild. My firm, Sustainable Designs, solar panels, community gardens, affordable units for families like Ma's old neighbors.
No gentrification ghosts.
The rest? Seeded a scholarship fund at Purdue for overlooked fixers, kids from the mills who crunch numbers in the shadows. Ethan called from rehab, voice reedy through the line. Heard about your lotto win. Stranger's envelope. I said nothing. He laughed, bitter. Figures. Tyler's sis, right? She hated my guts. Pause. Heavy.
Nat, I get it now.
The knee? Hurt like hell, but
fair.
Come see me? We can talk real. I drove out, magnificent mile giving way to suburbs, his facility a sterile spa for the fallen rich. He hobbled in on crutches, suit hanging loose. The charmer's grin faded to something raw. We sat in a garden courtyard, robins hopping like scouts. Sold Ian, he said, no preamble. Pocket change after the probes. Brooke took half in the settlement. Turns out she flipped first, tipped the feds for immunity. Another twist. His fixer fixed. Ma set, trust fund from the sale. House is hers till she wants. And you? I asked, sun warm on my face, the first real one in months. He shrugged, crutch scraping gravel. Starting over.
Consulting maybe.
Low profile. His eyes met mine, no flip, just Ethan, stripped bare. I'm sorry, Nat. For all of it. The mocks, the messes. You were always the success. I was the thief. Tears pricked, unbidden. Forgiveness? Not yet. But understanding, yeah, that landed. We hugged awkward, crutches clattering, and I left with a promise. Coffee sometime, no rifles. Summer bloomed full, my build site buzzing with crews, diverse faces, hammers ringing like anthems. Ma moved in nearby, a bungalow with a yard for her garden. Ethan's wedding? Cancelled, but he sent a card. To the real MVP. Buzz buzz, but with love this time. I burned it. Ashes to the wind off the lake. Was it happy? Tragic? Depends on where you stand. I got my empire, small, honest, built on cleared ground. He got a limp and a lesson, hobbling toward redemption or ruin. The stranger? Vanished, a ghost in the machine. Readers, you'd argue. Was the shot justice or savagery? Did I save him by breaking him? In America, success ain't a straight line. It's a revenge plot with no clean ends. Just folks like us, picking up the pieces, wondering if the fall was worth the flight. And me? I sleep sound now, rifle retired to the attic. But some nights, the wind whispers Tyler's name, and I wonder if the real success is surviving the story at all.